Hello, everyone. Yeah, this is Professor Valdivia, and I just want to apologize for getting this video to you so late. Yeah, just trying to organize and make more space for recordings for this class, and I do apologize, and I will make a much more concerted effort to get these recordings more on time. Okay, so I'm gonna go over the syllabus, but I'm gonna go over it in sections. So the first section, I'm gonna go over the first 2 pages, and then of the syllabus, and then I'll just follow through with the remainder of the syllabus. Okay. So this recording is going to review the syllabus for Sociology 309, Section 40, Writing Skills in Sociology. Okay. The course will examine the different aspects of sociological writing, and this course will explore strategies of writing effectively. In what ways can writing reflect how a person may think about a particular issue or topic? Is writing clearly an indication of clear thinking, or is clear thinking needed to write effectively? All writing is not the same. Someone may write a text to a family member or an email to a coworker, which differs from when you receive an email from human resources sharing changes to a company's promotion policies or writing an essay due for a class the following day. The point is, people write on a regular basis. This course will focus on academic writing as it pertains to sociology. Sociology has a particular way of sharing ideas using theory and constructing arguments via writing. As such, you must be as clear in your writing as humanly possible. All right, as I mentioned, because I have two other sections of this course, and it's a hybrid, and we meet every so often. And I was explaining to those two courses is that yeah, we live in a society that we're always writing, writing a text to friends, family members, and what have you. But then I actually shared with the two other classes an article that I read over the summer, and the article's content, which I will share with the class and see what you think about it, is that because of texting in how we write on social media platforms, people are using less and less punctuation, so it's making it much harder to be able to understand uh, what we can call written culture, right? So the intent for this course is to help develop strategies and develop good writing habits, right? Because as I shared with the other two courses over the week or during the week, was that when I was an undergrad student, first at junior college and then later on at UC Santa Barbara, because I'm a transfer student, um, writing was very challenging, right? Because like in high school, I didn't really learn anything. I was more socially promoted because I wasn't necessarily the best student at the time, right? But eventually, I was able to get my act together and start doing well, right? And and this is also one of the things, and I think I wrote this in the Canvas introduction and general description. At least within the context of academia, and I'm pretty sure this is similar in terms of like journalism and in English and composition. For you as a person having your own ideas, you could have like the best idea that may promote world peace or end world hunger. However, if you're not able to communicate that effectively through written word or written culture, ideas tend not to go anywhere because a person would literally be judged on their inability to write, and then that would literally discredit them as a reliable source or a reliable individual, right? So like that's also the other intent of the course is to try to help you develop the confidence and the skills to be seen as a reliable and competent thinker as well as writer. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to go down to the goals. So for the goals, students will develop Oh, sorry. Students will understand the role of sociological research and explore the writing process researchers go through as they write their manuscripts. So these are the three main points that we're going to be focusing throughout the course of the semester. Students will develop an understanding of writing styles for both non-academic and academic audiences. And the reason why I'm including non-academic, so we can sort of pay attention and try to make a distinction between how a person may write an article or a letter or just something compared to what an academic would write, and especially the different ways we have go about writing. So we write. So writing a book would be different from writing an article, and then we have like some other types of writing, like oh, excuse me, book reviews, right? Or working papers, and working papers are just where a researcher is collecting data, collecting his sources, and then sort of figuring out how to put it all together, which would usually end up becoming an eventual article and eventually a book. So like there's processes how this stuff happens in academia. Okay. So then that's why I make that distinction about non-academic and academic audiences. The second point is that students will develop an understanding of the research cycle and the research process, which includes developing a research project from crafting research questions, research proposal, thesis, claims, warrants, and the literature review. And by having you go through this process, hopefully through like the exercises and the recordings that I post in the modules, you'll be able to make those connections and those distinctions and develop um, I guess you could say positive ways of writing and also positive ways of doing research, right? And I will also try to suggest as best as I can, excuse me, some suggestions or pointers on doing research and writing as well. Okay. All right, and that's for point number two. And then the final point is students will demonstrate their skills by submitting a research proposal. So like the first couple of like about the 8-9 weeks or so, we'll be focusing on reading and writing and doing the research. And then around the 10th week, if I remember correctly from what I wrote in the syllabus, that's when we'll start working on the research proposal. So then we'll have the remainder of the semester to get that done. Okay. Yeah, and then yeah, that's pretty much like how I'm going to be at least doing partial evaluation of your work for this class. Now, the requirements. So attendance is mandatory, and since this is an online class, the way that I'm going to take roll, because Canvas allows me to do this, is I just look at who the class members when they sign on into Canvas. I am able to see how much time they spend on the platform. Sorry about that. You're right. So to be considered for attendance while you're doing the Canvas, you have to sign on at least for 30 minutes. Right. At least you need to sign on for 30 minutes at least one day during the week, because I'm gonna sort of treat this as we meet once a week, more or less, right? Like with my other classes. But that's pretty much how I'm going to take roll for this class. Okay. So that's the first point. Now, the second point, editing a peer essay, right? And this is what I also shared with the previous two courses this week, is that when I was constructing this course over the summer, I actually requested a syllabus from the department on who was the last person or who was the last professor to teach this course, right? So then I received a syllabus that the course was taught like about 6 years ago, and when I looked at the syllabus, I looked at the syllabus as severely lacking in any substance, right? So then I took it upon myself to try to make it a more substantive, where you as a student enrolled in this course or any of my courses, is that you get as much information as possible by me providing you with all the information that you need, right? Um, so because the way that I saw that syllabus, it looked more that the professor was editing the students' papers as the semester progressed. Yeah, you might learn something from that, but you're not going to learn anything. So then what you're going to do is I'm going to have everyone in the class submit an old paper that they wrote. Right? It doesn't matter if it was last semester, excuse me, or during a summer course, or even if like, and this is a situation I actually had in my other two classes, that you're a returning student and you have a paper that was written like when you were in junior college. If you still have that paper, you could definitely use it, because what I'm going to have you do is edit each other's papers, but I'm going to conceal the author's identity, because I'm going to block out the demographic information and then randomly assign that essay to someone in the class. Right. And then I'm going to provide you with a handout on how I want you to go about editing or going through that paper, and then how you're going to respond. Okay. And there's a couple of reasons why. One is that I want to show the class that although that you think, sorry, although that you wrote the paper and you have a pretty clear idea what you're trying to convey to your reader, sometimes that student won't necessarily get like direct clarification or feedback. That's the word I was looking for. Feedback on what you wrote, because it's towards the end of the semester. All right, and then you just basically judge your effectiveness in writing based on the grade that you received. That's not necessarily always a good indication, because it could be a lot of different factors that had helped you get that grade. But then how many of you, and be honest with yourself, you could deceive and fool me all you want, but the person that you're really deceiving yourself is like, because how many of you submitted a paper and then you got a great, you thought you didn't do well, and then you submitted the paper and did better, but you don't know what you did. That's why I'm having this sort of exercise, right? In order for you to get a sense of how you're able to convey your ideas to an audience, is pretty much like the editing exercise. Okay, so that's the like one of the major assignments, and then the second assignment, I think requirement I'm going to have everyone do in the course is, once you're done editing a peer's essay, I'm going to have you write a reflection essay on your experience on that paper. So this is a way of me showing you how we do criticisms in academia. So it's going to function as two parts. The first part is something along the lines is like, what idea or what central idea did you get from reading this peer's paper? Was the argument effective enough? Was the evidence sufficient to support the argument? And does it make sense? Right. Um, and then that would be one part, and the other part would be something along the lines of, you know, do you recommend any improvements? Do you see anything that you like that you could encourage or suggest to this writer to continue doing? But again, once you get all that stuff back, I'm going to redistribute it to the relevant author. Again, I'm going to conceal people's identity. Excuse me. And then have them read the comments. Right. So the exercise, or these two requirements, are not meant to make anyone feel bad about the writing, but just to sort of give us some type of indication to the effectiveness of the writing. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the next one. And then the next thing that you're going to be doing are weekly Canvas modules, and this is going to be based on the readings that I'm going to start posting uh, today and this weekend. Oh, and I forgot to mention earlier that I'm also going to include in the the explanation, the books, and give you an image of the books that you need for this course. And then I'm also going to I'm, as the instructor of record, will add other writings that you don't need to purchase, that I'm just going to scan and then just upload it onto the Canvas shell. Okay. But my intent for these weekly Canvas modules is that they're going to focus on specific skills and to try to help you hone in on those skills. Okay. And then, all right, so like that's for the weekly Canvas modules. And then you're going to have to do a 5 to 7 page research proposal, which I just mentioned a few moments ago. And then this is where you're going to be able to demonstrate the things that you have learned or that we've covered throughout the course of the semester. Okay. And then lastly, you're going to do a final presentation of your research proposal. And the way that we're going to do it for this class is that I'm just going to have everyone do a recording of your research proposal and then you're just going to submit it on the Canvas shell. All right, so you don't necessarily have to worry about like coming to class or doing something in front of the class. So this is the work that you're just going to do in the privacy of your own home. Okay. So so hopefully the requirements make sense. And if you don't, please send me an email with any questions or points of clarification that you may require. Okay. So now I'm going to go through the demographic information of the class. So this is for fall 2024, and the section for this class is 44360. The date is to be announced and the time is to be announced because this is more of an online class. So what I'm going to do is that every Monday I'm going to post the modules for that week. All right, so I'm going to have it all done, all set up, and just make it available. And then you're going to have that week to be able to accomplish the module. So you'll have until Sunday by 11:59 to complete the modules. Okay. Now, if there is an issue where you're not able to complete the module, like during that specified time, send me an email and send me a justification. Now, a justification would be something like, my internet service went out, and if that's happened, I want to see a report from the internet company that you have. Because I have Spectrum, and they'll always send me a notification saying, "Oh, there's an outage in your area." And sometimes I'm impacted, and sometimes I'm not impacted. Right? So, if you're gonna make a claim that there was some mitigating factor preventing you from doing your work, then you have to sort of provide the evidence, right? Because that's one of the things that we're going to be focusing on in the writing is the questions of claims and the relationship between evidence, right? But I'm not going to be like completely strict about that. It's just getting you guys in the habit, all right? So that's going to be for the days and times, and you can call me Professor Valdivia or Professor V, and I'll respond to either. This is my email address, right? And just to sort of let you know, because I also teach at a junior college. Excuse me. So I get a lot of emails. So then sometimes, if you send me an email, please give me at least 24 to 48 hours to respond to your email. If I do not respond in those 24 to 48 hours, just send me another email reminding me or say like, "Hey, Professor Valdivia, I sent you an email like 2 days ago. Can you please check and give me your response?" So then that will be my prompt to go check my emails and look for your email. Okay. Okay. So I actually found out where my office hours are, or my actual physical office is on campus. And my office is in SBS B325. So if you've been on campus before, you walk up to the science, the SBS building, and you go to the third floor. You walk up the stairs, and then you're gonna make a right, And then as soon as you see the elevator, you make a right. Then you're gonna pass the first hallway, and then you're gonna see the first door on your left. That's gonna be my office, and I'm gonna be there from 10 in the morning to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay. Oh, excuse me. So that'll be my office hours. But what I'm also going to do, which I will do by this weekend, is I will post a Zoom link address for my office hours during this specific time period. Because if you're not able to come on campus for whatever reason, because you're working or you need to take care of like family business and the online class is the only option for you, you'll be able to, excuse me, visit me during my office hours either virtually or in person. Okay. But if this time does not work for you because of certain responsibilities that you may have, send me an email. And then instead of saying, I'd like to have an email, a meeting this week or a Zoom meeting this week, don't say anytime. Give me a specific day and specific times, like Thursday between 1 o'clock and 3:30 in the afternoon. All right, so then that will allow me to see if I have availability during that time. All right. So the key here, as I will be focusing throughout the semester, is being specific with your ideas, and not be vague and convoluted, or right, if that makes any sense. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. All right, now for the course materials. So you're gonna get 3 books. All right. There is an online version of the Wayne C. Booth et al., The Craft of Research, but I think it's the second edition. And for this class, or sorry for the background noise because I'm doing it in front of my porch window, and it faces the main street. Okay, so there is a second edition version of the Craft of Research, but I'm using the 4th edition because I also have the 3rd edition and I had to get a new one because I literally destroyed the copy that I have because I've used it so much to refer to it for a lot of times I'm doing research. Anyway, so that's one book, and then the 2 other books are both written by Richard Paul and Linda Elder. The first one is How to Write a Paragraph, The Art of Substantive Writing. Right, now, again, as this course is a writing course as well as a research course, we're putting a research together. I'm not trying to humiliate anyone or make anyone feel bad about the writing, but this is a book that you're going to be using, but more specifically when you are editing the paper. All right, so this is sort of going to be your guide, and as well as you could also use the Craft and Research and the Miniature Guide to Critical Thinking, which I will talk about in a moment. But this is sort of the book that you're going to use to help you sort of analyze, right? Not analyze, but also edit your peers' research paper or the paper that they wrote, right? Yeah, so don't necessarily view this as like going back to rudimentary composition class. No, this is sort of giving you the tools so you could look at things and with like an editor's eye, more or less. Okay, so that's for How to Write a Paragraph, and then the second book is The Miniature Guide to Critical Thinking Concepts and Tools. So one of the big things, or a critical thing that you should pay attention to, is like how arguments are constructed and about like the reliability, validity, and honesty of an author, right? And then trying to sort of figure out the process of thinking in terms of how that relates to the writing and vice versa. And this book is a good example of how to do that. Right. So let me just give you a quick example. Um, Um, did any of you watch the Democratic convention that happened about a week or two ago in Chicago, where Vice President Kamala Harris accepted the nominee to run as president against Donald Trump for this year's election? Um, and if you had, did you see when Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, was giving his speech? There was a particular moment during that speech where the camera showed his son Gus crying, and what I call mad, ugly crying. Because he sort of like got um, uh, the tears and all that happening, right? And when I first saw it, and I think when many people first saw it, they're like, he's really happy and proud of his father, that he's giving the speech at a national convention, and that he's running for vice president, considering his background as a excuse me, as a high school football coach and a teacher, right? So then, people saw this as a very honest, open, and vulnerable moment for Gus and Waltz and pretty much like the family. But then conservatives, on the other hand, are saying that what's wrong with him? He's not an image of masculinity. He's a beta male, right? And then there's this author, her name is Ann Coulter, who's a conservative writer. Okay, as a person, I do not like her, right? And I don't even like the topics that she writes about. However, her writing is clear, even though her ideas I think are horrible, right? So then she criticized Gus Waltz for crying the way he was crying and basically calling him not a male but something else, right? So then this book by Paul and Elder is a way to sort of have you think about what is the relationship between critical thinking and to be able to express one's person's ideas either orally as well as written. Right? It's pretty much like the long story for this book. Okay, so again, I hope it makes sense, and if you doesn't make sense, please send me an email so I can clarify. And as I mentioned earlier, I will provide an image of each book so you can see what the cover looks like, and you get the right edition. Okay. Now, just continuing on the right hand side, this is just sort of recapping what I mentioned here. So this is the peer editing. So the class will edit a peer's essay written for another class, right? The student's identity and paper will remain anonymous, and the professor will rename each essay, or at least giving it like an identifiable mark, so I know which paper goes to who, and who does it belong to, so on and so forth. Okay. The peer editing review. Once you've completed editing a peer's essay, you are to write a self-reflection on what you thought and experienced as you read the essay. But again, I will provide you a prompt to how to go about writing that out. And then, of course, the weekly Canvas modules are designed to aid you in developing skills, learning to apply concepts, and improving writing and research skills. Then the next thing is the 5 to 7 page research paper proposal. Students will write a 5 to 7 page research proposal to convey the topic idea effectively. And then the final thing is students will present their research proposals. Right? And then lastly, the student learning outcome is to minimize writing errors and to increase the effectiveness of written communication. So I hope this makes sense. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to stop it here because I don't really want to have large videos for you to go through. So I'm going to stop it here and I'll start the second video.